Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of Tour Pro Talks. I'm Genevieve White. I'm a travel and tourism copywriter and coach, and I'm joined today by Sandra Benn, founder of Chiya andChai, a specialty tea company offering tea tastings. So, welcome, Sandra, and thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you. Lovely to be here. Thank you.
Well, I think it's going to be a really fun half hour. We've got loads to cram in, so let's get started. But first of all, I'd just like to extend a very warm welcome to the Tour Pro Talks audience. Please do say hello. I'd love to hear where you're from, where you're watching from. Sandra and I are both in Scotland. I'm in the Shetland Islands, and Sandra's in Edinburgh, and we've both been having a good old moan about the weather.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrendous. Very windy here, but the perfect day for tea.
Yes, absolutely. Which brings us to what makes this session just a little bit special is as Sandra does tea tastings, we're going to be having a live tea tasting today. My kettle is just boiled. Sandra has very kindly mailed me some of her favourite tea, which she'll be talking about in a moment. And as we ask and answer questions today on Tour Pro Talks, we'll both be having a very fine brew. So, Sandra, maybe while I fill my kettle with the tea, maybe you could tell us about the tea you've provided and why it's special to you.
Absolutely. So, today we are going to taste some masala chai black tea. So, hopefully you can see this quite well on the screen. It's a black tea blended with lots of different spices, and it's a very typical tea from India and some of the neighbouring countries. The spices in this one are the 3 Cs, so cloves, cinnamon, and cardamom, green cardamom, and then also ginger, star anise, and some pink peppercorns. It smells amazing.
It does.
It's just, I mean, I love it. And the reason I chose this one is because chai, as we know it, originates in India, and it reminds me of my travels to India and Nepal. It was one of the first traditional teas that I tasted when I was traveling that was different. Of course, I tasted it the typical way, the traditional way, full of milk and full of sugar. All of those herbs and all of those spices are really, really good for you. Less so the sugar, but I often have it like that when I'm at home. So we are, Genevieve, we're going to brew that about 2.5 grams, which is kind of like a heaped spoonful, into the teapot. Then your hot water on the top, and you need just off boiling water for that, and 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, I'll maybe set my timer because I know that once we start chatting, I'll just end up getting completely distracted.
Exactly, and I'm just filling mine up now, so I'll be 1 second.
Okie doke. So 3 minutes, you say, Sandra? Yeah.
3 minutes. That's right, and that just gives enough time for all of the aroma and the flavour to come out from the spices and from the black tea.
Right. Okay. Lovely. Oh, and hello to Les from the wet Isle of Lewis with ginger and lemon.
Oh, nice.
Ginger and lemon. Lovely. Okay. So, while this delicious smelling tea is brewing, we'll get started on our chat. Sandra, do remember our lovely audience. Do feel free to say hello and drop any comments. We'd love to hear from you, and questions too. I've got a couple of questions that are not even on my list of questions before we start. So first of all, Sandra, you said it's totally okay to enjoy this tea with milk and sugar, because I always felt that tea enthusiasts wouldn't be very impressed by adding milk to tea, but that's okay.
So yes, it is, because it's predominantly a black tea.
Okay.
And so black tea actually takes the addition of milk and sugar quite well. Tea purists would obviously encourage people to try it, and I do too. Encourage people to try their tea without the addition of milk first, because milk does mask the flavour a bit. Yeah. So I do encourage people to try it without. But for a black tea or a black tea blend, totally fine to add milk and sugar. Green tea, no.
No.
You wouldn't add milk to green tea, and white tea, far too delicate for the addition of milk. And you've paid a lot of money for white tea as well. So you wouldn't add milk to that. You want to get all of the flavour out of the tea that you can.
Right. Okay, great. The other thing is, the other question I had, I mean, I'm embarrassed to tell you, I actually don't have any proper teacups. Is there, I mean, this is a cup I'm going to be drinking my tea out of, but do you have any like specific tips or guidelines for any kind of teacup that would best bring out the flavour of the brew?
So the flavour, so again, tea purists, I trained with the UK Tea Academy in London, and Jane Pettigrew, who runs that organisation, she loves porcelain. So she would talk a lot about using porcelain. I love to brew in glass.
Okay.
And that's because I can watch the tea leaves. I love to watch the tea leaves brewing. I find it very mindful to do that, and just give me a 3-minute break in the day, just watching those tea leaves. So I love glass. But your favourite mug, you know, scientifically, the brain associates your favourite things and will tell you that the flavour tastes better out of your favourite mug. So whatever you like is the best thing to drink it from.
Oh, that's really interesting. I'd never heard that thing before about your favorite mug and the associations, but that makes a lot of sense. Okay, as the tea brews, Sandra, maybe you've just mentioned there that you are a certified tea expert. So can you tell me a little bit about the why you decided to do this?
Sure. So, it's at the timer. Okay.
Yeah,
Right. Well, you're ready to. You can pour while I answer the question then.
Sounds good.
So, when I got into the tea business, my background is banking. I did 34 years in retail banking, and I was qualified in banking. I did all my banking exams, and I studied for that, so that I knew what I was talking about. So when I came to think about entering the world of tea, credentials was really important to me. You know, why would people trust me to talk about tea when I knew about banking? So I Googled qualifications in tea, and up popped the UK Tea Academy, which I'd never heard of, but I was fascinated by. And it turns out you can qualify as a tea champion, a tea sommelier. Like you would go into, if you go into the high-end hotels in London, you will find a tea sommelier who's there to, like a wine sommelier, to give you advice on the best teas. And so I decided to study. So I got qualified as a tea champion. Haven't quite saved up the funding to get qualified as a tea sommelier yet, but yeah, I decided to do it because I wanted people to trust my experience and my knowledge. And I studied that I did a 2-day placement. And we tasted, I think, about 30 different teas, just to learn all about how it was made, how it's processed, where it's grown, the different flavours, health benefits, all that type of thing.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward. It's still a little bit too hot for me to drink at the moment, but I'm looking forward to talking tasting notes with you a minute for this.
Okay.
Very delicious smelling tea. So you've managed to turn your love of tea, your knowledge about tea into an experience for visitors to Edinburgh. So I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about what you do. I know you have a tea tasting tour, and you've also done tea talks highlighting Scotland's contributions to the tea industry. So yeah, could you maybe tell us a wee bit more about that, Sandra?
Yeah, sure. So when I first started, I was selling tea online on my website. But as I most of my customers are people that I know, either because we've known each other for a long time, or I've met them through places like LinkedIn. And when I was talking to them about their tea, it was the stories that they had, their own personal experiences, that actually I was most intrigued by. And everybody has some sort of tea story. I can't tell anybody that I'm involved in the world of tea without them telling me something back about their experience in relationship to tea. And I just love hearing all of that. And when I started to learn more and research more, I then found out just how much Scotland historically was involved in the world of tea, and bringing it out of China and to the rest of the world. And it was a story that I'd never heard about. I'd heard all about the Highland clearances, when I was at school. I'd never heard about our impact on the world of tea and the contribution that we'd made. And so I decided to talk to people about that story. And it's just fascinating, and something that is really quite unexpected for locals who don't know about it, and for visitors coming, because they come to Britain, the world of tea, afternoon tea, all of that, but they don't really know about the contribution that we've made. So I love telling that story.
Absolutely. I think, I'm a Scot myself, and before we met, I would never have associated tea in Scotland particularly. So it's a learning experience for visitors and locals alike, for sure. I also love what you're saying about stories and people's stories with tea. So yeah, if any of you watching have any interesting tea stories, please do share them on the chat. It'd be great to hear. And Les says, so glad to hear not all tea experts condemn those of us who occasionally add milk to various black teas.
Absolutely. I mean, as I say, if you're buying a single garden Diane Hong from China, something like that, you want to taste it and get the flavour out, like you would a single malt. You want to get the taste and the flavours and the aroma out of it. But, there's nothing better on a wet and windy day, snuggling up with a cup of your favourite brew and adding a bit of milk to it, and maybe even a wee touch of sugar or a biscuit alongside it. So yeah, you enjoy your tea how you enjoy it.
Yeah, and talking of biscuits, you did suggest that I get some ginger nuts to go with this tea.
Yeah, and that's because of the spices that are in there. So you might remember I said ginger in here, so it complements it really, really well. Also, carrot cake is a great one with a chai as well. Carrot cake, and the spices that you add to the carrot cake complement the tea.
Well, imagine, yeah. And this, I've had a couple of sips now. It's cooled down sufficiently, and it is absolutely delicious and so refreshing as well. It's got that lovely, warming, spicy flavor, but there is that lovely sense of I'm actually a bit thirsty because I've not had time to drink very much today, and it is really very refreshing as well as being warming.
Yeah, it's quite light considering how heavy the loose leaf looks with all of the spices in it, and the colour is quite deep and intense. It's clear. It's not a cloudy tea. It's a clear tea, but it's quite light. In terms of the refreshing nature of it, like you say. And remember, in India, it's a hot country, but they still drink a lot of tea. So again, refreshing for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, really delicious. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's move on to another question now, because I'm really interested in how your got tongue-tied. How does your tea tasting experience work in practice? How do you set it up to appeal to locals and also to visitors?
So I would say no two tea tastings are the same. Some people, so for all of them, I'll typically take along 2 or 3 different teas, and we'll taste different teas alongside each other. There's also never any right or wrong answer, because my tasting experiences and my associations of different tastes and smells is completely different to anybody else's. And so what you might enjoy and what I might enjoy are completely different. So I'm never offended if somebody says, I'm not really keen on that one, Sandra, because everybody's experiences are different. But I'll take along 2 or 3 different teas and we'll try them. We often try them with different foods alongside them. So I do some tastings for a group called the Veterans Tribe. We go all around Scotland doing some tastings, Veteran Tribe Scotland. And they always ask which biscuits and cakes should we have. So we try them with different ones. And we'll also talk about different things, and I really am guided by the people on it. So sometimes it's a lot about health benefits of tea, which are significant. Some people want the science behind it and how tea's made and how it's produced. And some people really just want a relaxing afternoon, couple of hours with some friends. And we just sit down, you know, I've lost count of the number of times we'll get to the end of a tea tasting and somebody will say, I can't believe we've been sat here for 3 hours talking about tea. But the time's flown by, and it's a connection that people have enjoyed from it, and just a really relaxing and pleasant afternoon. So all of them are different. I try to tailor it to, you know, what the customer asks for, but really you have to go with the flow of what happens at the event.
And do you have a particular demographic, like a kind of target or ideal customer who type that you keeps coming along to your tastings?
So, yeah, I mean, oftentimes it's female. But at Veterans Tribe Scotland, for example, there's a lot of men come along to that. And I think that's also because of the connection opportunity and the chance to sit down. I mean, they're very, very forthright in their opinions of the tea. You know, I like Builder's Brew, Sandra, this isn't dark enough for me, you know, strong enough for me. But yeah, I mean, I also, what I really look for is somebody who wants to be curious. Because we get stuck in our ways. That's how I got into finding out about different teas, because I went for an afternoon tea one time, and I was in a really posh place in Edinburgh, and they came out and they put down a Bible of tea options and walked away. And then they came back with the afternoon tea tray and proceeded to explain in minute detail all of the different things that were there in terms of the afternoon tea itself, and then said, what tea do you want? And I'm thinking, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. So I asked for Earl Grey. And everybody that I was there with asked for Earl Grey as well, because we had no idea what to do. So I like people who are curious to just give something a try. That's my ideal customer, really. Just curious to give it a try and explore different options.
Yeah, and it just sounds like there's just an amazing array of tea options to explore. So you probably, I mean, I guess there'll even be teas that you yourself haven't explored yet, Sandra.
Oh, totally. Hundreds and hundreds. And that's because there are so many of them. I mean, one of the fascinating things about tea that totally blew my mind when I went on my training was that all tea comes from the same plant. I thought there was a green tea plant and a black tea plant and a white tea plant, but there's not. It's one plant, Camellia sinensis, and how you process, what you pick from the tea bush, and then how you process that tea, and the skills of the tea farmer determine whether it's a white tea or a green tea or a black tea, an oolong, a yellow, or a pu'er, 6 different types of tea. And so, yeah, I mean, I've tried I've tried all of the categories, but there are hundreds and hundreds of teas that I've yet to taste. Which is why it's an amazing journey and an amazing area to be involved in.
I think that ties in with the next question I was going to ask, which was, what are some of the most surprising or interesting facts that you share with your guests about tea? I think that one about the tea all coming from the same plant would be one of the most amazing.
Totally blew my mind and blows everybody's mind. And it's all, as I say, it's all in the processing. If you allow the leaf to oxidize, turn black, then at various stages along the way, you'll get different types of tea. And that's kind of the shortcut version of it. But that, and also that we grow tea in Scotland. People are always surprised to learn that we grow tea in Scotland, and actually very successfully, on a small scale, but very successfully. There's a group of women in sort of Tayside, Kinross, Fife, that sort of area, and they each have a tea garden, and they came together, well, I'm not even sure how long ago, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. they started to bring their tea leaves together, blend them, and a few years ago they were very successful in putting together a tea blend, a black tea blend called 9 Ladies Dancing. How cute is
Ooh,
that
that is
name?
a very nice name
9
for.
Ladies Dancing, and they sell it in Fortnum and Mason in London. I think they make something like 2.5 kilos a year. But yeah, we grow it in Scotland. Kinettles Gold is grown in sort of Angus region. Susie Walker Monroe grows Kinettles Gold there. Again, small scale, but absolutely beautiful tea. Yeah, so that always surprises people as well that we grow it here.
Yeah, that is, gosh, that is an amazing, two
Yeah,
amazing facts I've learned today,
yeah.
and the half hour is still not even finished yet. And to hear someone commenting that's really annoying, sometimes people's names that don't show up on StreamYard. I don't know why. I lived in Europe, which introduced me to black tea with lemon, never added milk again.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's good. And so you're going to get the flavour from the tea much more clearly, and the lemon's just going to add a little bit of zing to it. Apparently, adding lemon to green tea helps with the absorption of the polyphenols that are in tea. They're the really good component of tea for health reasons. And if you add lemon to your green tea, it helps the absorption of those.
Oh,
So
okay. That's a
that's
good,
something to try
that's
as
a
well.
handy tip. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So, let's talk a little bit more about, yeah, maybe we could talk a little bit about collaboration. So, I imagine that organizing tea tasting tours is a business which would probably lend itself really well to collaborating with other people. So, I wondered if you could maybe talk about some of the collaborations you've been involved with and who you've collaborated with and how this has worked.
Sure. So I guess some of the ones I've got on the go just now that are relevant to the tour companies and the travel trade. I've got a collaboration with a professional chef who's based in Fife. And she teaches her clients how to make different dishes. So there's a collaboration that we have. She teaches people, they come into her kitchen and she teaches them to make an afternoon tea. And then we sit down at our dining room table and we eat the things that they've made, and we do a tutored tea tasting alongside it. And I pair different teas with different parts of the afternoon tea. That's a really nice one. And I've got a hookup with a lady here in Edinburgh. She's a scone expert. She makes scones. I actually did her scone making class with a couple of friends last year. And so now we do a scone making class and tea tasting alongside it as well, which is really nice. And then it works really well with sort of health and wellness. So yoga type activities, anything that's where people are focused on slowing down, relaxation, the wellness aspects, improving their wellness and things. Adding some tea tasting into that works really well as well. So I enjoy doing those.
Oh, it sounds like there's so many great collaborations there. And I mean, a couple of things have occurred to me. Just firstly, that I think people are so interested nowadays in these like experiential activities. So doing something like the scone making, the afternoon tea and tea tasting, that's such a lovely gift idea, or even just a way for friends to bond together, rather than, going to the pub or what have you. It's just
Exactly. I mean, it was why I went to Wendy's scone class, because I've known my friends Fiona and Claire for years. We all know how to make a scone, but we've never made scones together. And so we went to the class and we did that with Wendy, and all the stories about, my grandparents making scones with them, and Fiona telling me about, her grand's cupboard and all the array of different ingredients for different flavoured scones. And, and Claire was a bit of a disaster where she couldn't measure anything correctly and stuff. So, it was just an experience that we all knew how to do individually, but we'd never done it together. And now we've got something that we can talk about when we meet up. And that's what I want to create from tea tastings. A shared experience that just, is a memory.
That's such a lovely idea. And it all goes back, doesn't it, as well to that, storytelling and everyone having stories, but I really wouldn't have thought about before our discussion today. But even just talking to you now, I'm just all of these stories and memories and associations are coming into my head. So
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Okay, right. We've got a lovely long comment here, which I'm having to go back a little bit to read because I'm very long-sighted, from Maureen in Kenya. In Kenya, we have a lot of tea farming tour experiences. My favourite is indulging guests to a purple tea farm tour, where tea nature and adventure blend into an experience like no other. It entails art of tea picking, and you craft your own signature tea blend. Oh,
Amazing.
wow. I bet you'd like to be involved in that one, Sandra.
That would be bucket list. So that's another thing that we often don't know in the UK, is that when I say to people, where does the tea in your tea bag come from? Nobody ever says Kenya, but it is. Our tea comes from Africa, because they grow on the plains there. It's year round. We need a constant supply in the UK because we drink so much of it. So we can't get it from China and India and whatever, because it's seasonally grown there. So Kenya is where most of our tea in the UK and that goes into our tea bags comes from. But that sounds purple tea. I've never actually tasted that. That sounds much more like it's specialty tea here, which is just beautiful. Love to do that.
Gosh,
I'll be connecting with Maureen after this.
I was going to say, you guys should definitely get in touch. Right, we've got a couple of other comments which we'll just share. So yes, so LinkedIn user is Cheryl Newman, saying hi to you, Sandra.
Yes, I know Cheryl well. Also a tea lover.
Oh, and Marty says, my favourite tea is Ginkgo biloba. I was at your event as part of the Arrival conference in Edinburgh.
Oh, lovely. Oh, that's great. Thank you. Nice to see you again, Marty. I don't know that tea, Ginkgo biloba. Don't know that one. Again, I will be picking up with you after this.
Oh, brilliant. Lovely. Okay, now, unbelievably, I think it's almost time. I'm just looking through my questions to see if I can find one more to finish up on. I wonder, okay, here's a good one. I always like to leave the viewers with maybe a little bit of advice, something that they can think about and apply to their own businesses. So, Sandra, I mean, I think you've got such an amazing business here, such an interesting business, and it's so lovely as well to see that you've really turned your fascination for tea into something, into what you do and what you share with other people. So what advice would you give to someone who's looking to start their own business in the specialty food and drink industry?
Well, I would say do your research, talk to your customers, because if I think back, I've been going 4.5 years now, and the business now is nothing like it started out. And that's just because I've constantly talked to my customers and found out where their interest lies and what else or what would be of interest to them, and it's kind of shaped the direction I've gone. But it's about passion, I think. You can only get up and do this sort of thing every day if you absolutely love it. So I think follow your passion, and it comes from there. So that would be my advice. I mean, I didn't ever, when I was in the bank, think, oh, one day I'm going to set up a tea business. But when I did decide that I was going to set up some sort of business, and I thought about what do I love, that's where tea came to mind. And it's just from there, talking to customers and focusing on the bit about tea that I really enjoy is the sharing it and the storytelling back and forward with people. And that's kind of taken me to where I am now. So yeah, follow your passion, I think.
That's lovely. And yep, that passion really shines through when you're talking about what you do. It's just lovely. Okay, I said that was my last question, but I'm going to slip in a little cheeky one from Les, because I don't think this will take you too long to answer. What's the maximum number of people you can do a tea tasting for, and is it only in Edinburgh?
Well, great questions. So I do in person and online. Online is really fun because everybody's brewing the tea themselves. So it's a really great experience to do. And of course, that can be unlimited. I think I've done one right back at the beginning. I think I did during lockdown. I think there were about 60 people on the call. There were Alexas going off everywhere. It was quite noisy. I've refined it a bit since then, but I can travel as well. I like to do small groups. I like to do maybe 4 or 6 people, but in a couple of weeks' time, I've got one for 20. Veterans Tribe Scotland are I go around Scotland to do their tastings, and there's often into the high teens of people there as well. So yeah, all different sizes, and happy to travel.
Okay, brilliant, lovely. Well, I've certainly enjoyed our little miniature tea tasting session today, Sandra, and thoroughly enjoying this. I will be finishing, definitely. I've got lots of work to do this afternoon, so I shall be finishing this.
Awesome. And those leaves are such good quality, you can rebrew that. So you could fill the teapot back up again using the same leaves.
Wonderful. I will be doing that for sure. Well, Sandra, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to drink tea and hear about your love of tea and learn some amazing facts as well. And thank you as always to our lovely audience for your comments and questions. It's been a great session. And yeah, thank you all very much. And thanks you again, Sandra.
Me.
Goodbye.
Bye.